Okay, we need to talk about this announcing situation. Now, we all saw Don West turn heel on Mike Tenay last week. Well, he was in full-on heel mode this week, and I really do not like this. Alright, first of all, I don't see any reason to have a heel color commentator. We're not in that era anymore. It feels way too old-fashioned, and personally, I think both announcers should just be impartial all the time, just like any other sports broadcast team. And I think this is going to hurt the product as long as it continues. I really do. And you saw it on this show, plain as day. Alright, there were several times on this show where Tenay and West were so busy fighting with each other that they just stopped talking about all the stuff that was happening in the ring. Okay, plus, Don West's new heel persona sounds completely forced. It's not believable at all. It's obvious that he's really uncomfortable with it, and then you've got Mike Tenay saying, "Oh, Don West has disrespected me, and he has disrespected all you fans." Oh, Mike Tenay was disrespected? We're supposed to feel bad because Mike Tenay was disrespected? Who cares? Seriously, who cares? I don't know if anyone in TNA management has ever noticed this before, but Mike Tenay comes off like a complete tool 99% of the time. When Don West went off on Tenay last week, the audience was cheering him on as he did it. So now we've got a heel color commentator who obviously doesn't want to be a heel, and a babyface announcer who most of the fans don't even like. You thought the fans hated the announcing at TNA before? This is not going to help. As for the rest of the show, I really wanted to like iMPACT this week, and there were some things that I did like, but there was still way too much of the stuff that just does not make any sense whatsoever. Okay, we had a nice X Division title match, although it was too short, but it was good. I'm starting to warm up to Kiyoshi. I'm not completely sold on this guy yet, but he's definitely a way better addition to the X Division than Sheik Abdul-Bashir, who has pretty much fallen off the map lately, thank God. They're definitely making an effort to really hype up the Ultimate X at the pay-per-view. These rough cut videos have been very good, and we also saw that video hyping the X Division itself, which I did appreciate. The thing is, we still have no idea who the participants in the Ultimate X are going to be. They haven't been announced yet. You know, there haven't been any qualifying matches or any in-ring promos or anything. So they're hyping up the match, but they're not hyping up any of the people in the match. And that is what bothers me about this. And this is coming on the heels of Dixie Carter saying on the website that they were going to start reinvigorating the X Division. Well, no offense to Miss Carter, but I don't see how you're going to accomplish that by getting rid of Petey Williams and Sanjay Dutt. And plus, we've been hearing that promise from TNA that they were going to refocus on the X Division for the last couple of years now, and it hasn't happened yet. Now, we are seeing some small signs here and there that they might intend to follow through on it this time, but I'll believe it when I see it and not before. Next, the stuff with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Booker T and Scott Steiner. I like the idea of these two feuds, where AJ and Joe got beaten down and beaten down and beaten down, and now they're coming back for revenge. I like the idea of it. The problem was the way they presented it this week was bordering on absurd. Alright, they had AJ get the jump on Booker T, and then get taken away by a bunch of cops. And then Joe shows up disguised as a cop and threatens Scott Steiner with a huge knife again. Now, I do like that AJ and Joe are being portrayed as being more equal and often better and smarter than the Main Event Mafia guys now, but the cops arrest AJ for stealing Booker T's fake little title belt that he made up, but they don't bother to do anything about the crazy man who's threatening to cut someone's throat open. And then, while this is happening, Mike Tenay is saying, "Oh, I don't blame Samoa Joe one bit for this." What? Look, when you have a man threatening another man with a big freaking knife on his throat, you cannot have your announcer saying, "I do not blame this person." I don't care what the storyline is, that is absolutely retarded. Okay, the announcers need to sell it honestly. And by that, I mean they need to sell it like the Main Event Mafia tried to break Samoa Joe, but instead of breaking him, they ended up provoking Joe to some dangerously psychotic level, and now he's starting to take things way too far, and it's really scaring the living crap out of everybody, faces and heels alike. But instead, you've got Mike Tenay cheering Joe on while Joe is about to decapitate someone in the ring. Alright, to sell this properly, Mike Tenay should have acted completely horrified. And they did have Don West acting that way, but it was only because he was trying to be a heel, and Mike Tenay was going way over the top as a babyface, acting like Samoa Joe would be completely justified if he painted the ring with Scott Steiner's blood. someone in management needs to sit down and have a very long talk with Mike TNA. Seriously, this man has got to make changes to his performance. Otherwise, get him out of the announce booth. Put Jerry Borash in there or something. The Kurt Angle, Jeff Jarrett brawl at the end of the show. I'm torn on this part. These two are probably going to have a rubber match at Lockdown. That's more or less confirmed at this point, I think. So on the one hand, it's good that they're setting that match up in advance, and it will have a ton of build-up behind it when it happens. But it really worries me where this is all going. And if you saw the last shot of this episode, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, it was Jeff Jarrett, Mick Foley, and Team 3D in the ring celebrating Jeff Jarrett kicking Kurt Angle out of the building. Where were the other frontline guys? Huh? Where were they? I mean, yeah, there was a reason why AJ and Joe were not there, but Jay Lethal, Consequences Creed, Eric Young, the guys that Kurt Angle beat the hell out of earlier in the show, where were they? Huh? Okay, I don't care if they were selling the beatdown from Kurt Angle. They still should have been there. Okay, this really frustrates me because this whole main event mafia thing started out as the veterans versus the young guys. That's what it started as, all right? And now it's gotten so far away from that idea, it doesn't even feel like the same feud anymore. Okay, now it's more like the veterans versus Jeff Jarrett and Mick Foley. Okay, all the young guys, if they haven't been removed from the main event mafia feud altogether, are just beat-up dummies for the veterans, basically. And the only ones who aren't, AJ and Joe, have gotten maybe 3 minutes of screen time between them in the last month. Jeff Jarrett, look, it's not that I don't respect the man, all right? If it weren't for Jeff Jarrett, TNA would not exist. I understand that. I respect him for that. But if he is going to continue on as head of creative, then he should not be on television. Bottom line, all right? Let someone else do it. Either be head of creative or be an on-screen character. One or the other, but not both. It just doesn't work, because when Jeff Jarrett is an on-screen character, he always seems to find some way, by hook or by crook, to make himself the focal point of the show. That is not going to help your company long term. People were absolutely sick of Jeff Jarrett during his last run exactly because of crap like that. So if they're having the rubber match at Lockdown, it's probably going to be for the title. So be it. All right, Kurt Angle needs to win that match, defeat Jeff Jarrett, and then go on to lose the World Championship to either AJ Styles or Samoa Joe. That is what needs to happen. If that is not what happens, then I don't know. And that's about all I've really got to say for Impact this week. I'm going to end this video tonight with a little ratings analysis. Anyway, most of us have heard the news by now how the infamous empty arena match with Kurt Angle and Sting was the highest rated segment in Impact history. I think it did a 1.45. For the last month or so in general, Impact has pretty much been getting the highest ratings it's ever done in its entire history. And that is all well and good. But according to the trend in the quarter hours, all these new viewers that are tuning in to see the main event Mafia, but are not necessarily sticking around to watch anything else. Okay, here's the problem with that. Sting is in his last year in the business, guaranteed. Okay, Booker T is just going through the motions these days. It's obvious he doesn't care anymore. And he said a couple of years ago that he wanted to be retired by now. Scott Steiner and Kevin Nash, their bodies are disintegrating day by day. They're not going to be able to do this much longer. So within 2 years max, all those guys are going to be gone. All right, now Kurt Angle, he's got a little more time. But the rest of those guys, they're at the end of the rope. Okay, they're just about done. You need to start taking the focus off of them now. You need to stop trying to get the fans to tune in to see the main event Mafia and work on getting the fans to tune in to see AJ and Joe and Sabin and Shelley and Lethal. All those guys, I don't care if the main event Mafia are drawing the highest Impact ratings ever. It's a temporary fix. Okay? At this rate, when those guys finally leave, you're going to have absolutely nothing to fall back on, TNA. Use the time while you still have it to start elevating the young talent. Otherwise, TNA really is going to become WCW.